Pakistan, they continue to be fooled by their fake nationalism. They continue to commit harakiri. But for once, good riddance to bad rubbish. Because at this point in time, Pakistan deliberately wanted to jump into this Bangladesh ICC fiasco, thinking they would get back at India. But no, you've not gotten back at India, you've not gotten back at the ICC. In fact, you've hurt another team in Sri Lanka because their board, their venue has been impacted by this. So, with Pakistan, ruin is certain. Just ask Bangladesh. Now Sri Lanka will also feel it. Just ask Afghanistan, whom they have ruined. Pakistan at this point in time are a pariah state when you have to look at cricket, because they had no standing whatsoever to do what they have done. The government of Pakistan. Clearly, Mohsin Naqvi, the PCB chief, no. ACC chairman, no. Home Minister, Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi has won at the end of the day for his fake nationalism. Because what has happened? With the boycott of the T20 World Cup match against India, you're now going to stare at losses. Now, broadcasters would want a chunk of that money because they have lost out on content. They have lost out on broadcasting. What will the ICC do? We had done previous videos. What will ICC potentially do if Pakistan boycott the whole T20 World Cup? Well, at that time, the situation changed. Even now, Pakistan will play the T20 World Cup minus the game versus India. What could be the sanctions that ICC can give? Number one, players stop to play PSL. No international player will be allowed to play the PSL. No NOC will be given. In fact, the situation is so bad that even now the players aren't registering for the PSL in Pakistan. Revenue share could be slashed, although it has never happened in the history of the ICC, because looking at it, broadcasters would want a share of the money for the losses that they have incurred. Advertisers would want the loss there. What could the ICC do? Take a chunk that Pakistan have in that revenue and give it to the broadcasters. Pakistan's current chunk in the ICC revenue pie is 5.75%. That chunk could go. They will be slashed, or they could just ensure that, okay, we just give it to some other nation in parts. No more ICC tournament hosting rights. Anyway, the chances of Pakistan hosting an ICC event is remote, even in 2031. Future tournaments also, you will not get it. Then, bilaterals involving Pakistan to be impacted. That is one of the rules that could happen. That could be the ICC sanction. And Sunil Gavaskar, speaking to Sports Today, has clearly mentioned, if you boycott the India match, Pakistan must be punished in a big, big way. Now, there have been past precedents. England versus Zimbabwe, New Zealand versus Kenya in 2003 World Cup. Australia versus Sri Lanka, West Indies versus Sri Lanka in 1996 World Cup. And Zimbabwe to England in the 2009 T20 World Cup. Now, understand one thing. Why the Pakistan situation is so farcical. England versus Zimbabwe, there were clear tensions between England and Zimbabwe, which all centered around the human rights atrocities that were committed by the Robert Mugabe regime. New Zealand versus Kenya, New Zealand committed harakiri because there were bomb threats, and there was a terror attack in Dar es Salaam and in Kenya a couple of weeks before that. New Zealand refused. But that also, the cricket team were not going to be impacted that much. Australia versus Sri Lanka, West Indies versus Sri Lanka, both Australia and West Indies refused to travel to their games in Colombo and Kandy after the January 31 attack that happened in the Bank of Ceylon. Sri Lanka tried and tried, but they couldn't get the two teams there. And that is why two of the marquee clashes in that situation were knocked out. Zimbabwe to England over the continuing problem with Robert Mugabe. Now, at that particular point in time, ICC did not slash the revenue, nor were bilaterals impacted. England, Zimbabwe, nothing got impacted. New Zealand, Kenya, New Zealand were not impacted. Australia didn't get impacted. West Indies didn't get impacted. Zimbabwe, their cricket board was anyway in ruin, so what you had to impact them further? England, Zimbabwe, They will argue legitimate issues, so that's why we can't go to Harare. Australia, Sri Lanka, West Indies, security. New Zealand, Kenya, the only grey area. What is the excuse that Pakistan have? If Pakistan were going to India, then their security concerns would be understandable. Yes, you will face a security threat in India. But you're playing in Colombo. You're playing India in Colombo upon an agreed hybrid model. For your fake nationalism, your cricket now is on the death throes. And thankfully, it has to be in the death throes. Because Pakistan's nationalism is so fake, just out of sympathy for what happened with Bangladesh, totally different matter. That is why ICC must take a strong stance. Because there was no locus standi for Pakistan to ensure that they had to pull out. There was no threat in Colombo. Unless they were scared to face India, then that's a different thing altogether. But yes, when Australia, West Indies, England all boycotted, at that time, there was no slashing of revenue, bilaterals weren't impacted. But at that time, the security situation, bilateral situation was legitimate. Knowing Pakistan, they will point out the security situation with India, and that is why they'll hold on to that. One hopes ICC sees through this farce, because the match was happening in a neutral venue, not anywhere else. So all the punishments, maybe, be prepared even for this bombshell. ICC may not impose also. But since Pakistan's thing is not on firm ground, ICC must sanction Pakistan also. So that is why we are waiting for the ICC statement. Let's see what happens. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this video. Subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis.